on LinkedIn, and that we're on YouTube as well. And then we'll start. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. As usual, you all know I'm always excited. Today, I have an extra special guest. So today, I'm extrally, specially excited, if there's anything like that. But it's good to be here. So I can see we're on LinkedIn, I can see we're on YouTube already, and we're on LinkedIn as well. So let's do it. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. And thank you for joining. Tiff, are you there? Are you still there with me? I think I lost you for a bit. Tiff, are you there? I hope you're there. Okay, so I'll still do the intro, just in case. So I'll still do the intro. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Beyond Your Title Conversations. As you know, Beyond Your Title is a course, or maybe as you don't know, Sha, because there's some new people that are going to be joining. So my name is Omodara Adediran. I'm the host of the Beyond Your Title Conversations, our series that we have on LinkedIn. And it really is around, we lost Tifa for a bit, but no worries, she'll come back in a few. Yay, she's here again. She's here again. Welcome back. So no worries at all. So I was just doing the intro. Thank you everybody for joining us on this beautiful evening. So today we have a very important guest, and I'm excited to have her here. But just to give you a bit of a background, as you know, we have this Beyond Your Title conversations that we do with entrepreneurs, with professionals, and with different people. We've had people from a ton of industries. And it's also centered around our course that's personal branding for impact. Very important that you remember the impact at the end. So it's not just for showing off and see me, but it's about how you can create value and make a lasting difference in your industry. So it's basically for professionals and high growth entrepreneurs who want to show up authentically, who are ready to embrace their values, and who want to make a difference in the different industries in which they operate or which they serve. So we are open up for registration again now. We're starting in the last week of February. Inshallah, we'll be starting in the last week of February, and the course runs for 4 weeks. Our early bird discount is currently ongoing. So instead of 100,000 for the regular option or the essential option and 150,000 for the immersive option, you get to pay 15% off both of them. It's a very in-depth course that teaches you everything from self-development to content creation. And I use the word content creation loosely, but it has every form of messaging that you can, think of. And then identifying your target audience, understanding the best platforms for you, and then understanding, things like privacy controls and why your personal business doesn't need to be out there because it's personal branding. So anyway, that's what the course is about, and I will look forward to a lot of you signing up. But today, we're going into an industry that I'm very passionate about. Well, actually, it's Tifa that's passionate about it. But I'm just fancy because I'm here today. But anyway, we're going to be talking about agri-businesses, and I'm excited because I know quite a number of people who play in this space. And I think it's a good opportunity for us to really know like the nitty-gritty of what goes into this industry. So I'm not going to introduce my special guest because she's going to introduce herself. So please just please let us know who you are. I've been saying Tifa. People are going to be like, it's not Latifa that's on the panel. But give us a brief background of yourself and, let us know who you are.
Okay, so I have to give myself a drum roll. Yes. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Latifa Lawal, and I'm an agribusiness professional. So I'll jump right into a brief background of about myself. Um, in secondary school, I always wanted to be an engineer. Like I loved math and physics, and I thought being a female engineer would really be cool. So I mean, that was the dream. However, Jam said no, and then I was given I was given chemistry to study at the University of Lagos, which I managed to pull through, by the way. But as soon as I was done with that degree, I knew I wanted nothing to do with chemistry, so I was open to anything really. So after service year in 2008, I got a job with MTN as an online call center representative. I did that job for about 5 months, during which um, one of my friends invited me for a party, or a house party, and so I went for the party. Apparently, he was nephew to the then GT Bank MD. So you know when you go to a party and you're the only one that knows yourself, that was my situation. I was so bored. Everyone was just talking to themselves. Anyway, I sat down and I noticed a man walked in and everybody ran to him. They were all around him, just talking to him. This. And then when the crowd dispersed, I saw that he was alone. So I went to meet him. I was like, "Good evening, sir. I'm guessing you're the MD of GT Bank because my friend had already told me that his uncle was the MD. So I was like, I'm guessing you're the MD. I was like, yes, yes, I'm the MD. So I just took that opportunity to bring myself out of the boredom I was feeling. I started talking to him. I was asking him, how is it starting the bank? How is he managing staff and all that? I asked him so many questions. He was really engaged. And the next thing I was like, have you applied to work at GT Bank? I was like, no, because during my 3-week camp, GT Bank staff came to my camp to scout for new intakes, and they were looking for 2 1s and first class, and I finished with a 2 2. So GT Bank was never even in the question, right? So I was like, no, I've never even considered it because I finished with a 2 2, and I know you guys only take 2 1s. I was like, no, you should try your luck. Call me next week. This. I made the call the next week. They called me for the interview. After about 2 weeks, I was in GT Bank. And that was just an amazing story of how I got my GT Bank job. So I
Mm,
got into banking, and I was in banking for about 6 plus years. I worked in operations, customer service, and marketing, right?
mm,
So in my 6th year, I got married, and that same year I had a baby. And the pressure from marketing, I knew I could not cope. So I resigned. I left the job. I really loved the job, but then I just couldn't cope with the baby. So I left. And then I took
yeah.
a career break, a 5-month career break. And this took me to 2016. I got a job as a project manager in a private consulting firm. I was there for about a year. And then sometime in 2017, this opportunity came. Someone was like, there's a job opportunity in Nursa. I was like, what's Nursa? I'd never heard of it. They said it was an agribusiness organization. I was thinking to myself, I don't even know anything about agriculture because the only agriculture I know is from secondary school. Like that was the only thing I was like, but
Me too.
I think, yes, I know, right? I think I was just ready for a change. I was ready for something new. So I was like, okay, bring it on. And so I came into the system, and here I am 6 years after, still thriving in the agribusiness field. So that's like the short background.
Love
Yeah.
it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Interesting story. I really love how you've moved in, from different industries and from
Yeah.
different roles as well. Love to hear it. Now, this brings me to my next question. I have to ask, seeing how much you loved like marketing, like you said, when you were working for the bank and everything, what would
Mhm.
you say has been your most rewarding experience, so far in this new
Okay.
industry that you're in? What would you consider your most rewarding experience? When did you know that, ah, yes, I'm in the right place?
Okay. So, ironically, my most rewarding experience is my most difficult experience in the same sentence, right?
Hmm.
So, I had been in Nursal for about 3 years, right? And then I was assigned to lead a project, an integrated livestock project, which is situated in Yola. Now, I had never done anything on livestock, right? Never, like I was focused on hibiscus value chain and I think
Hmm.
maize value chain, but not livestock. I knew nothing about livestock. And then I also had never been to the northeastern part of the country, right? I don't speak Hausa and I don't speak Fulfulde, which is their key languages there. So I went into panic mode, right? I was like, how can they give me this project? How will I survive? How will I this? How will I that? At that point, I just knew that I didn't have a choice, and I basically landed on my feet running. So that was my most rewarding experience because it was a very huge project. It was an integrated livestock project. And let me talk a bit about that project. So the project is comprised of 8 components, right? And as the name implies, each of the components are integrated with one another, such that the output from one component serves as input for another. So we had the feedlot component, which is where we fatten bulls. We had the breeding and dairy production, which is where we improve the genetic potentials of our local breeds. Let me break that down quickly. So our local cows only produce an average of about 1 liter of milk in a day. But if you compare them to their counterparts in other developed countries that
Their
have
mates.
to their mates, yeah, yeah, their mates produce like 10, 20, 30 liters per day. So that breeding component, what we aim to do was to try to improve the genetic potentials of our local breeds. And then we also did some milk production. Then we have the pasture production, which is basically production of the pasture, the grasses that the animals will eat. We have irrigation component, which is to ensure year-round production of fodder. Then we have the feed and fodder bank, which is where we do the formulation for the animals, the silage production, and the hay production. All of these are just feed stuff that they eat. Then we have the compost component, which is where we take crop residues and animal residues to produce compost, which acts as fertilizer. Then we have the animal veterinary services, which is where we provide health services for the animals. And then we have the facility management, which is in charge of ensuring that all the components are working.
Mm.
So it is during this project that I found my passion. And that's why I would call it my most rewarding experience, because in the project, I now realized that, gosh, I have a passion for dairy, the dairy value chain. Like, first of all, there's a gap, there's a huge gap in the dairy value chain. There's a huge opportunity. In Nigeria today, we spend up to $1.5 billion importing milk. So that tells you that there's a huge opportunity in that value chain. Why are we doing that? Why are we not able to at least produce to a large extent, such that we don't have to put that burden on the country? And so yeah, that's where I'll call this my most rewarding experience, because that's where I found my passion, which is
Mm.
dairy value chain and all things dairy. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And I mean, yeah, you're in it for the long haul, right?
I am actually. I am. I must say, because remember I told you before coming to Nesta, I had no
Yeah.
knowledge, almost zero knowledge about agribusiness. So it's been from one course to another, from one book to another, just trying to read and understand the business more. Just so that you can better perform at your job. So since I got on this project, like everything I do is aligned with dairy. Yes,
Hmm.
there's agribusiness, which is like their grandmother, but then the dairy is a grandchild, and that's
Yeah.
where, like, that's, let me say, my niche. That's the niche I've decided to focus on, and I like it. It's my passion. It's what I'm interested in.
Love it,
Yes.
love it, love it. Awesome, awesome. Now, I think it will be interesting for us to discuss how agribusiness. What I find is, I mean, just like I'm having this discussion with you today, and I'm already like learning stuff. I find that every time I have a conversation with somebody who is, either a professional or an entrepreneur in this space, there's so much that we learn because you guys have so much information, that is very useful to the general public. Even though I must say, I remember sitting down with one of you people, Sha, and the person gave me headache, telling me about how food is not stored. I shouldn't buy from this source because it's unhealthy to consume, and this one is not stored. And I was like, okay, maybe I should stop having these conversations for my own mental well-being. But I mean, at the same time, it's still useful for the public. So,
Mm-hmm.
but then I also find that you don't find too many people in this space educating the public. So that's why I would ask that how would you say that agribusiness owners and professionals like yourself, how can they establish, authority in this competitive market space? I would say both, yeah, how can they establish their authority? Let's keep it simple.
Okay. So agribusiness is a very broad field. It's very broad, right? We have several value chains. All the crops
Mm,
are value chains, right?
yes.
So crop value chains, livestock value chains. A value chain is basically a series of processes and people that add value to products until it gets to your table when you're eating,
Mm,
right? That's a value chain. And then the agribusiness are the different businesses along the value chain. So let me
mm,
give you an example. So a value chain is, from our own end at Nursal, we define the value chain as having four different segments. The first segment is the pre-upstream segment, which is where we talk about things like seeds, mechanization, research, irrigation, things that you need to
mm,
produce. So that is pre-upstream. And then we move to the upstream segment, which is where the actual primary production takes place. That's where the actual planting of your seed or the insemination of your animal, that's where it takes place, the upstream. And then we have the
yeah,
midstream, which is where we have our, sorry, the upstream also has harvesting, so you plant and harvest in upstream. And then the midstream is where you do your processing, your logistics and transportation, your packaging, and all of that. And then we have the downstream, which comprises of three. The downstream is the market segment of the value chain, and there are three different markets that we've categorized. We have the domestic market, we have the industrial market, and then we have the export market. So along the value chain, there are a million and one businesses that you can do in agribusiness. So to answer your question, I would say it is better, or how you can gain a competitive edge is by identifying a niche that you want to specialize in. Be
mm,
let's say that if they say we're looking for a specialist in dairy value chain, it is Latifa they're calling. That's
mm,
because you have
mm.
identified that niche. You are showing people that this is your expertise. You are telling them your success stories, your the lessons you've learned from your failure, and all of that. You're communicating your journey to them. You're letting people know that, look, this product I'm selling under this my agri business is the best you can get. So I would say
Yes.
specialization, identifying a niche,
Mm,
focus on that niche, and develop a strong presence online and offline. Be the go-to person when people think about that particular agri business.
mm. Love that. Love that. Thank you for that. Because, this leads into like the next thing I was going to ask. Because I was just really thinking about how people, I feel like, there's still, honestly, I think sometimes, how they do all these career fairs and you see like different openings in university. I really think that, taking this industry or this sector, professionals going to go and talk to people, is really important because I feel like a lot of times it's still really sad that people hear anything agriculture or agribusiness and they just turn their noses up. It's like, no, that's
No.
not for me. Not
Ah,
understanding how wide and how broad it is. And,
yes,
you know,
yes,
people still kind of think, oh, if you are going in
yes,
there, oh, yeah, you're going to carry hoe or you're going to carry axe,
yeah,
in
no,
2024, you
no,
know?
no, not at all. Not at all. Agribusiness is like we're always going to eat at least once or twice a day.
That is true.
The Particularly in Nigeria, the opportunity in agribusiness is so immense, and
Mm,
you just have to know. So I don't blame them because they don't know. They are not
mm,
educated. Like they haven't been educated about agribusiness, so it's easy for them to say that. But if they read and they learn about the opportunities that exist in agribusiness, they would say something different.
I
So there are
agree.
huge opportunities, yes.
Mm, mm. So, what are some of the effective ways for agri-business owners, will I say, to stay updated on like industry trends? How do they like stay updated on, what's going on in the industry and how can that improve the quality of the work that they do?
That they do. Okay, so first things first, the learning is forever. You learn every day. Check online, do online courses. There are so many things you can do. Learn. Just keep learning. That's one. Two, attend industry events. I actually even went for one today. Attend industry events because a lot of stakeholders will gather, come and tell their stories or whatnot. Industry events. The third one I would say is join associations, both online and offline. For example, I am a member of two associations on WhatsApp. It's a dairy group and a bull. bull value chain group, right? And the knowledge I have gained from those two groups, I don't think I can go somewhere and say I want to pay for it. Like, it's
Wow.
a group of intellectuals in these value chains that come every day to say something that you learn from.
Mm,
I think
mm,
just finding avenues to join associations is very, very critical, because you see real people that come to talk about their real experiences, and how you can learn and opportunities. So yeah, the learning is perpetual as long as you're in this space. Um,
mm,
Attend industry events and find relevant associations to join, both online and offline.
nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank you for that, Latifa. That's really important. That's really important. And now that you spoke about WhatsApp groups, I'm like, oh yeah, let me change my perception about WhatsApp groups. Let me stop abusing them. They're useful. But
Yeah, yeah.
but I agree with you. When you're in a place with other professionals, there's so much you can learn that beats what you could even, learn from a book or even learn from school. But then all these different things come together to form one, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I guess now I would want to talk a bit about just how agribusiness professionals like showcase their industry, how they can showcase their industry expertise, and how this knowledge can be leveraged in personal branding efforts. Because honestly, every time I sit down with someone who is in some operating in some part of the value chain, honestly, the knowledge is it's immense, both from the kind of sourcing of the things that go on the table to what consumers can even do to support the industry, things like that, encouraging more people to come in. I think it's very important. But then we don't find a lot of people like you that take these kind of speaking opportunities or take these kind of conversations, And I understand, because then again, in the value chain, to those people you all are very busy. The work is not for the faint-hearted. But I think that that's one of the reasons why, I started this course, so that people can begin to see how their personal brands can make a difference. Like how you have come to discuss with us today. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh yeah, is it dairy that should be putting my money in right now?
Yes,
Should I
yes,
be,
please.
should I be looking for some investment in that space? What else do I need to know? I think
Yeah.
that it's important that people who are in this space really need to educate the consumers more. I've seen journalistic efforts, in different parts in here, from livestock to so many things that have just even made me aware of the things I consume and why, when I consume them, at what rates, if they're the best for me. And then all I remember speaking to a friend of mine who was operating in this space and was telling me the sheer value of hibiscus. I was like, sorry, is this Zobo we're talking about here?
It is.
I said,
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
Zobo? Is this Zobo that you're shouting about like this? And when she was telling me the sheer amount of money that her company makes from Zobo, I passed out.
She's not
They like
lying.
export it.
She's not
Yes,
lying.
obviously. Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm. They
Yeah.
like they like export it, and it's big business. And now,
Mm.
interestingly, I then also saw, like, some fund being set up for people to invest in hibiscus. I looked again. I said, wait, is this Zobo? Or is this something else?
Double.
So what that shows me is that, like you rightly said, there are a lot of opportunities in this space, but we need to know. As the common man, we need to know. As people who can invest, or who can support, or who can help to grow this industry, they need to know that too. So the people in this industry need to come out and tell us more.
Okay, more, because I know that there are a couple of people that actually do that, particularly on
Yes.
LinkedIn. A couple of agribusiness players talk
Hmm.
about their various fields. Yeah, I know it's
Hmm.
actually a lot of people.
A lot
Yeah,
of
so maybe
them.
you need to be more connected to more of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that, yeah. But
Exactly.
I
So maybe that
totally
connect.
agree with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. So maybe that connection. And I also say that one thing that I also encourage people to do is that, there's so many platforms, like you said, there are people on LinkedIn, there are also, I do remember a particular lady who, she did share, she had a habit of, I can't remember her name now, sharing a lot of information about how this industry works and how the different workings of this industry also affects the consumer. So, in the end, there are always different levels. There are people who operate at the level of industry professionals. There are
Mhm.
people who operate at the level of educating the consumers. There are people who work at the level of,
Different
association. So,
players, yeah, different players
exactly.
along the value chain. Like I told you, there are million and one areas that you can play. You don't even necessarily have to do the planting. You can be an exporter of hibiscus. That you're an agri-business player. You understand?
Mm,
You can be an aggregator. You can be a seed supplier. Different aspects along the value chain. Yeah,
nice, 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 nice. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it.
yeah.
Okay. I think that something else that would just be really great for us to also discuss is, I think, the power of storytelling, because storytelling is such a powerful tool for people
Is
who operate in your industry. I mean, it's a powerful tool for everybody. But in your industry, it plays like an extra role of helping people to like
yeah,
engage with
yeah.
stakeholders. And I
I
think
agree.
that this is really important. I mean, in order not to do any brand endorsements here, but there's some people that I buy from and I am comfortable buying from them. In fact, there was one lady that my friend and I would order things all the way from Jos to Lagos. And it was because, first of all, we there was so much behind the scenes. In fact, at a point I was confident that I'll be able to own a strawberry farm from the sheer amount of information that I had gotten from her, and the different ways to use the product, and
Mhm.
then how to also our role as consumers to make sure the business survives, and then what we can also do to start as like small farmers in our
Yeah.
spaces. And she did all this with the most amazing stories,
Stories. Wow.
like really, really powerful stories. Like sometimes she's like sharing like behind the scenes information from the farm. Sometimes she's telling us about how they empower all these smallholder farmers, I believe.
Smallholder farmers.
Exactly,
Yeah.
smallholder farmers.
Yeah.
You see me too. You see, I know it's small. You know, I try, so she will tell us about that as well. And it just builds this engagement with people. As in, honestly, it's instilled the
And
farming.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah, even though I mean, till days, the only thing I've been able to grow successfully are things like I say cactus and aloe vera. But pepper, I was like, this thing takes too much time. It's a waste of my time. But anyway, that's on a consumer level.
Yeah.
On She also does different engaging and informative stuff that are more relevant to her colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes it's just information for people who operate in that distribution and supply chain. But the beautiful thing about the work she does is that she tells a lot of stories. And that's why I encourage people who are in this space,
Mm.
to take on personal branding as a thing, because when they do personal branding, and it's personal branding for impact, which is like what I teach and like to push people to, it really um it really does a lot. It inspires people, it encourages people to get into this space. It shows people the rigor, the work, the sheer amount of hard work that even goes on, in organizations like yours, in smaller companies, in smaller businesses. It just gives us all a certain level of education and awareness that is
Mm-hmm.
very useful to the industry as a whole. And that's why I think that storytelling is one thing that we must leverage in our different
The
circles.
storytelling. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so let me ask a quick question here.
yes,
So, apart from LinkedIn, which is where I spend most of my social media time,
yes.
what other social media platforms do you think people like us can you know connect with our target audience and build our strong online presence?
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking that question. So the first thing I would say is, you know, um, the very first thing when you're trying to build a personal brand for impact, the very first thing that you must do is to identify your target audience. Now,
Mhm.
your target audience determines where you go. Now, it's just like how you said you spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, probably because you're trying to target professionals, or colleagues in the industry or whatnot. But then you've also explained that there are people who operate on WhatsApp, right? Now, I tell people that the good thing is that we have platforms that can be used online, and we also have a lot of work that can be done offline as well. So for some people, I say when you're building your personal brand, sometimes the only people you influence are the people in your office, and that's okay because we expect that the people in your office will go and tell other people too. Some people
Yeah.
it's on ground in the associations, like you said. But then when we're looking at this space, there's a lot of visual work that goes on. So LinkedIn is a great platform, especially when you're talking to professionals, especially when you want to target investors, and things like that. And you're also looking at colleagues in the industry. You want to share your journey, you want to share your lessons, you want to share how you have learned and grown, and you want other people to leverage that. But there are also other things that I think are important for people to do. So, for example, writing in journals, industry journals are also very important. Releasing thought leadership papers are also very important. Now, these are the things people run away from because they're harder to do, right? And it takes more time. But I tell
Mhm.
people all the time that if you dedicate your time to creating an original piece of content, it's not just a random one-off post. That one is easy. Anybody can do that one.
Yeah.
Let's say you dedicate your time to producing a paper, and that paper is published in some well-known journal, or
Yeah.
put it in some great space. It can put you on a global level, educates people on a global level about the happenings in your industry. And
Mhm.
then the beautiful thing about it is that 1,500 word document, or 2,000 or 3,000
Mm.
or whatever, you can
Mm.
now break that down into a mini series that you then use on LinkedIn. A lot of
Okay.
issues, yes, a lot of issues
Okay.
that
Yeah,
people
just go on. Mhm.
a lot of issues that people have with, when people come for like my course, or when they come to learn how to build personal brands, they're like, how do I start writing on LinkedIn every day? How do I start creating every day? I'm like, you don't need to create every day. What you need to create is original content. Because if you release a paper, or you even come together and write like a really good essay, for example, you can then take that essay and break it down into a series of posts, a series of whatever. It's
Yeah.
just work that you can use and reuse and reuse. So yeah.
Okay, so let me come in, right? So since I don't know if I was telling you, I had been on LinkedIn for about 10 years, and it was only last year that I let me say cut the buzz. And so since I no, sorry, the year before. And since I joined the LinkedIn train, I've had an amazing experience. I'm not even going to lie, I've gained a lot. One day I'll talk about, some of the things I've gained on the platform. And then, I try to talk to people, to get them on board. Come and join LinkedIn, come and join LinkedIn. But everyone or most people, they're like, what will I write? Just like you said, what will I write? So my question to you, Dara, is that people have intentions of writing, but we also need to remember that not everyone is a writer.
That
Not
is true.
everyone writes well. Do you get what I mean? So you
Yes.
write, and what you're writing maybe doesn't get engagement, or it's not interesting to the
Yes.
ears. Do you get? How does such a person, still forge ahead in terms
Oh,
of putting themselves out there online?
I love that. Very, very good question. And
You know,
I
and
also
then also,
yes.
I don't, sorry, I know a lot of us will say Chat GPT and all of that. Chat GPT writes in an annoying manner. I swear.
No, that's because people don't use it properly. That's because people don't use it properly. That's why,
Yeah,
so for
continue.
example, you see all these people who, they are forever putting out prompts and stuff like that. People, I don't want to say people, I don't want to use a certain term, but people don't really use it properly, to be honest. So this is what I would say. First of all, and this is another thing that I teach in this course, by the way, people need to understand what comes naturally to them and leverage that. Now, every single platform now, almost every platform gives you different options. It gives you options to just record. So maybe you're putting it out there. You don't, when I say record and do something audio, people are immediately say, hey, how do I edit the podcast? It doesn't have to be a podcast. If you're doing something in
Mhm.
audio, it doesn't have to be a podcast. You literally
Okay.
can record a voice note on your phone, slap a banner on top of it, and upload it on LinkedIn. You can do the same for Instagram. If you want to, you can do the same for WhatsApp, right? For some people, they're more comfortable talking as videos, and then they start saying, how do I edit it to look pretty? You don't have to look pretty. It's your message that matters, right? Some people say, hey, you need to wear makeup, you need to do it. It's the message that's the cocoa.
That
Focus on
matters.
that. Leave as you blow, when you blow or whatever, you can go and start hiring makeup artists. I don't know. But focus on the message, focus on the content. So you have to ask yourself, as human beings, one thing will naturally come to us. Either speaking comes naturally for you,
Comes naturally
right?
for you.
Or writing comes naturally to you, or recording comes naturally to you, or just putting pictures together comes naturally to you. Now ask yourself, what are my strengths, and then leverage those strengths. And then I also want to say something else. This speaking, even if you don't want to do like audio, I was saying that sometimes we get so caught up in, oh, my online presence, online presence, online presence, but there's also a lot of opportunity to build offline as well. For some people,
Okay.
the only thing they will do is community engagement, and it's fine. For some people, it will only be knowledge sharing within a WhatsApp group or within an office setting, and it's also fine. What you can then do is, as you begin to do that consistently, you can now take that content and say, okay, every time maybe you want to do maybe an event, or you have a speaking engagement, or you're doing like a learning session in your office or in your community or in your estate, no wahala. Whenever you do, just tell somebody, please, can you help me record audio, or can you help me record video? You see, from those things that you yourself you said, take them,
Mm.
extract some of the words, and then use them. Your LinkedIn post is ready. You get, so it's just a little more creativity, right? And going back to AI is so beautiful now that, for example, you can go and speak somewhere and just get someone to record the audio for you or record the video. That's all you need. There's so many AI apps. You put it there, it will extract all the words for you. It will cut out the places where you're like, yeah, they were feeling you here, they were feeling you here, to cut it out for you. It will cut out all those ones that you finish talking, like say, hey, dropped a punchline. It will do everything for you, and you just take that, look at it, because sometimes not only ChatGPT, there are different AI tools. Sometimes you use
Mm.
these tools now. You go and say something in Yoruba, the thing will convert it. It will be looking like German. But so you check it properly. Make sure that it's what you said. Is it aligned with what I wanted to say? Yeah, no problem. Take it, refine it a little, drop it on LinkedIn or whatever platform you want to use. So if we, and that's why I really say that we really need to think about personal branding in the sense of it being for impact. Because we have to think about it that it's not just because some people always ask me, oh, shouldn't I be doing what my employer wants to see? I say you cannot be building a profile solely for the purpose of the fact that you want to get a job, right? You have to build long term. You have to build because you want to make a difference. You have to build because you want to be relevant in your industry. Trust me, fame and fortune will then come, right? If you consistently build, people will notice you all by themselves, right? But that shouldn't be your
Yeah.
immediate gain, because if that's your immediate gain, that's where you'll be worrying that, oh my god, do my eyebrows look like, oh my god, is my hijab sitting properly on my head, oh my god, did I talk with H factor? You'll be something about yourself about things that don't matter. But if you build with that long-term purpose and you're committed, you're consistent with it, yes, sometimes it will be a little painful to do, but you eventually get there. And then the last thing I wanted to mention regarding this is, like Tifa said, if you continuously expose yourself, content will never be a problem for you. If you go out, you
Yeah.
read, you
I
learn.
agree.
Oh,
I agree.
my lecturer
I
said, this
agree.
association guy said, you know. So yeah.
I, okay. Okay. So let me take you back to what you said about your Joss, the lady you buy from in Joss.
Yes.
You said she uses storytelling to market pretty much, right?
Yes.
Can you remember any of her compelling stories? I'm just curious, like storytelling. Yes, I get her in writing,
Yes.
but I'm trying to um I'm just trying to imagine.
Yes.
Yes, like what kind of stories was she telling?
So she told, in fact, I have so many of them. So, but there's this
Okay,
one that
just
she told that it was really about the challenges that the smallholder farmers face, in terms of how you find, okay, let me be careful here, but really in terms of, first of all, how sometimes they work so hard but are not properly remunerated for the work that they do,
yeah.
or how sometimes you find that their processes are so archaic that they put in too much for the returns that will come, or how
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they even plant or farm in a way that they lose half of their stuff before it even gets to the market. So she then
Yeah.
explained how she put together. So what she's running, really, she's a face, but it's actually like a group of farmers You get both big and small. Some are more technologically driven, some are more rural or a little local. So she then told stories of how they merged like their different experiences and used it to create a mutually beneficial relationship and profitable relationship for all parties. And after she really shared that, like really sharing their background, sharing how they got there, sharing their challenges and their trials. I was sold for life. I said, this lady, take all my money, take it, take it, take it, take it, take it. And then sometimes it's just around her, like sharing things around storage, like how we store the
Yeah.
produce and things like that. So the produce we get from her. And then it's very descriptive. So sometimes she uses videos, sometimes she just uses like a series of images, to like tell us stuff.
Okay.
And then sometimes she's literally just writing, it's writing, but it's in a way that she does it really well. And she also does something that I think that people can learn from generally. When it comes to creating stuff like this, I think it's very important for people to understand that they can operate in two modes. You can operate as a creator and you can operate as a curator. If you're a creator, then you're creating everything from scratch, you're putting it out there. If you're a curator, you're just bringing together really great work that people have done, giving
Yeah.
them due credit, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
sharing that. So about
Yeah.
understanding where we play. But those are the things
Okay. So what I'm taking from this is you need to be able to touch your audience like in their hearts,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, you need to connect with them almost emotionally, or I don't
Yes.
know. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You
Okay.
need to be able to do that. And that's why it's very important that, yeah. And that's why it's important that you also kind of need to agree and kind of align on who. Please, if there are any questions, feel free to ask. I completely forgot to, but thank you everybody that has joined us so far. We see you all. Thank you. It's very
Thank
important.
you, everyone.
It's very important to kind of align on who you want to speak to so that you're not stretched too thin. Because, like Tifa said, their associations, the demands of the associations are very different from the demands of like a consumer. The kind of content that will be relevant to each person is different. So, in order not to spread yourself too thin, kind of identify where you want to play. And it goes back to what Tifa said earlier about even picking where you want to play in the value chain. So you're not everywhere trying to satisfy everybody, which is
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
frankly unrealistic. Yeah.
Dara, I have another question for you, please.
Yes.
So, what would be your advice to someone like me who's just starting, who wants to put themselves out there on LinkedIn or any other social media platform, but particularly LinkedIn? What would be your first advice? Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of people worry that they may not sound
Yeah.
okay, or people might not like their stuff, people might not engage with their stuff, or they're just wasting their time. No one is listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what would be that first advice you would tell to anyone? Because the truth of the matter is, as we are growing in our careers, you somehow have to put yourself out
Yeah.
there. Like, people need to know you for something. And like I always tell people, yes, you are really good at what you do, but if you don't tell me, I'm not a witch, how would I know? You have to find a way.
Absolutely.
You have to find a way to to communicate. So how can we make it easy for people to put themselves out there without feeling like under pressure or
Yes.
afraid? Because these things are real, trust me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And honestly, as much as I'm quite the chatterbox, I still get, like worried sometimes when I'm putting stuff out. So the first thing I would say is register for the course. So my course teaches you how
I'm
to
actually
do
going to
this.
register for the course. Okay.
So this is a plug. This is a plug. So my course teaches you how to overcome these fears, how to create from a place that matters, how to, write the kind of platforms you should use, how to identify your target audience, everything. So if you just check the comment section, you see the link to join the course there. So I highly encourage that you join it. And then to give you some other free tips, because I just don't want to be one of those, hey, come and join my course or nothing. The truth is, the very first thing is start small. That's what I try to tell people. Because you see, when you're there trying to write epistle, don't do it. It's stressful. Start
Yeah.
small. Start small. Start with really small stuff that you can then build on. That's point number one. Point number two, consider curation at the beginning. So it's more of somebody shared this, you found it useful, you read this, you found it useful, just put your own thoughts of what you read. What do others think? It's easier for
Yeah.
people to contribute to that. Number three is give credit where it's due. And what do I mean by that? For example, if you're writing something about a project that you did, involve the other people who contributed to that project. It helps with engagement, it helps with credibility, and it also helps people to contribute because the people that you mentioned and that you appreciated will automatically
Mm,
weigh in, right?
yeah.
And then the last thing I would say, which I still do till date and which is very helpful, is also try to be somebody who creates on the go. Don't be someone who, I mean, if you look at me like this, I wish you could see my work table. Too many jotters, always writing. My Evernote full, Google Docs full, is it jotter full. As I'm taking a course, I'm noting things. As I'm watching something, I'm noting things. Because a lot
Create.
of times we don't fill our minds with the right things, but then we'll be looking for inspiration when we need to write what matters, right? If
Mhm.
you attend the right events that are relevant, you consume the right kind of content, just create a habit of just scribbling. Every time somebody says, this makes sense, just write it down. So, and you can keep you can keep it digitally, you can keep it physically. So when it's now time for you to write, it's no longer an issue. You're not starting from the scratch. You're not opening
Mhm.
LinkedIn and thinking of what to write. Instead, you're pulling from something you've written somewhere, and then you're literally just either copying and pasting it, or
Yeah.
you're expanding on it. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. And another thing is a lot of people feel like, oh, I haven't had that big career break, or I haven't had that big promotion, or I have nothing. But we have so
Yeah,
much to give the world.
absolutely.
I feel like you said, just start small and build from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a really key point there.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Thank you so
Oh,
much,
there are
Dara.
questions. My God, there are lots of questions. So somebody, first of all, someone said, well done, Dairy Queen. That's you, Latif. I can't be me. So well done. Thank you, Dio, for joining. Temi Tokwe, Kemi, everybody. So somebody says, let me show this. Somebody says, what is the current state of the dairy business in Nigeria, and what are the biggest challenges faced by farmers in your region? Latifa, is you
Okay.
they're asking, cannot be me.
No problem. Okay, so one key issue um, that is faced by farmers is low productivity. I mentioned earlier during this session that our local cows produce really low quantities of milk. We produce an average of 1 liter per milk. When you compare that to our counterparts in other countries that produce over 10 liters, 20 liters, some even produce as much as 50, right? We see that we need to work on ourselves, and we can do that through improving the genetic potentials of our indigenous breeds by conducting artificial insemination. But so you bring in we call them exotic genes. So we have a Frisian from, let's say, Denmark, that would come to, either you use the semen from that Frisian or you just mate naturally, so that by the time your own local cow gives birth, that baby becomes a half caste in quotes. The genetic potentials, has will be improved. So when they now get pregnant and start lactating and producing milk, their yield becomes higher than their mother's yield. The amount of milk they are producing will become higher than their mother. So with respect to the current state of dairy business in Nigeria, I also mentioned there's a huge gap. We spend a lot of money importing milk into the country. We spend as much as $1.5 billion.
Wow.
And so there's a need for us to look inwards. To be very honest, a lot of dairy players are doing a lot. We have some top guys, they're doing a lot of backward integration where they aggregate farmers together, collect their milk, even have their own ranches and farms where they produce milk. So yeah, current state of dairy in dairy business in Nigeria, there's a lot to do. Low productivity,
Mhm,
it's being worked on. We have a long way to go, but I can guarantee you that um, we are already on the way,
mhm.
because I know a lot of people that are putting in efforts to see that this position changes.
Thank you.
Yes, so
Thank you,
that's good.
Tifa. And then there's another comment. I'm so sorry I missed your comments, people. Someone says, I agree with Temitokwa says, I agree with the submission of carving a niche. Agribusiness is huge, and perhaps the problem is a lot of professionals are having to do a lot of things together, and it's always counterproductive.
Very
Yeah,
correct.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comment.
It can be very overwhelming, to be
Mm,
honest, because you can lose it in agribusiness. You can lose it all in one day. So it
wow.
takes a lot of knowing what you are doing.
I'm not
You
investing
know,
again.
yes, you need to know what you're doing, and don't do it. There's no point doing everything
I'm not
except you're
investing
that.
again. You can lose everything in
Yeah.
one day.
No, 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 no. No, with the right, there are some foundational steps you must take.
Yeah.
Like I said, the potentials are huge.
Mm.
They're really huge.
Awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. Dio also says, Dio, thank you for joining. Dio also says, what I like about the agribusiness industry practitioners is their passion and willingness to share their stories with anyone who is willing to hear. Absolutely, absolutely. Dio also says, personal branding is a deliberate effort to tell the world who you are and what you stand for. And what you stand for. Unfortunately, it doesn't come to all of us naturally. Dio, join the cause. Join the cause.
I agree. I agree with Dayo. It doesn't. I feel like people don't even realize that they need to have
Yeah.
a brand. I think I only just realized 2 years ago,
Oh wow.
and this is me that has been in the workforce for about almost 15 years.
Well,
I just do you get
yeah,
so I feel like people just need to know
yeah,
that you are a brand, and the world needs to know about your awesomeness.
yeah. I feel I don't like to take it for granted because as you know, I have a rich background in comms, so
Yeah,
this is my field.
yeah,
So I know that, but I think that another thing that's a deterrent is a lot of people. I see that sometimes people get a little overwhelmed with or discouraged with the people who just go and share information that's not relevant to anybody, or it's just because they want to
yeah,
show off. And that's why I try
yeah,
to create this shift of let's not just build personal brands. Let's build personal brands that are for impact, that make a difference. So if you have that
yeah,
larger goal that's even beyond you, that that by putting out this work, it's of benefit to your industry, to other people, to people who want to come in, like how Tifa is going to help me become a millionaire or trillionaire from
yeah.
this
And you
dairy
will
business.
be.
If you know that it serves a larger purpose like that, it can inspire you to do really good work or get to it early. So Dio will be expecting you because don't worry. Dio also asks here, she has another question. Do you know what percentage of our dairy consumption we produce locally? And is there a strategic roadmap in place to up our local production?
Yes, so we produce just about 50% of what we consume.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, yeah. So in terms of strategic roadmap, I don't have my hands on one, but I know that it exists.
okay.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes,
Awesome.
it exists. So one thing I can say is, I think 2 years ago, the CBN actually restricted access to FX,
Mm,
because what happens is, people that produce things like yogurt and other milk products, they go to CBN to get dollars because it's cheaper. To get dollars, import milk, but CBN said no. This thing is a burden to our economy, so we're going to restrict FX access to only players who can demonstrate that they can conduct some level of backward integration. So backward integration is basically a process. So let me say, um, Arla. Let me say Arla. So Arla, for instance, has to demonstrate that they have a ranch or a dairy farm where they have farmers, where they have cows that produce milk locally up to an extent. So that now gives them access to the effects from CBN. So that's one of the strategies or policies that the federal government came up with, that said, you see, you can't just get FX to import milk. We won't let that happen.
mm,
Okay, you have to be able to demonstrate, look inwards, do your production up to an
yeah.
extent, and then we can take you from there.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I see, in fact, so many good evenings. Hi, Abdurrahman. How are you? Hi, Kemi. And I see there's Oneno Obaseki. Good evening. Thank you for joining us as well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I think we've taken all the comments. So we'll wrap up now. But I just wanted to drop something. So I wanted to say that for everybody who comes from Latifa, because I see Latifa has an amazing fan base.
Yes, thank
Where's
you.
like
Thank you,
from
everyone.
the minute I posted this session, I've not seen so many people comment. Hey, Tifa, I say, okay, welcome everyone. So
Thank you to
thank
everyone.
you everybody for
I don't take you guys for granted
yes,
at all. I appreciate your support. Thank you all, Dayo, Oneno,
yes.
Abdurrahman, everyone,
Everybody,
Kemi. Thank you,
everybody, thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you,
So,
everybody.
for
Thank
anybody
you.
who is interested in joining our personal branding course for impact, Tifa is joining, by the way. So, you see her there.
I am
She's a
actually.
star, but
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
joining. I have decided that we'll give out a discount code. So, if you go to where you register for the site, because I'm so inspired by Tifa's people, they're amazing. So, I put the link to the site here. Just use the discount code Tifa. So I'll put it there, TIFAH.
FH,
And you get
yeah.
an extra 5,000 naira off the course just
Woo,
because you
woo,
came
woo,
from
woo, woo,
Latifa.
woo, woo, woo.
I want to
Yes,
really, yes, yes, you all are amazing. You all are amazing. And honestly, we need more personal brands from this sector because you all are doing the real work this country needs. You guys are doing the hard work and everybody needs to know that, and we need to bring more people into the industry. We need to bring more investments in there. So yeah, I think Tifa, can you take one more question, please? So I'll
okay.
quickly read a comment and then a question. Where is the comment now? I lost it. Okay, so Abdurrahman says, can't agree more with the importance of branding. Absolutely. Abdurrahman, we're waiting for you in the course. Join. So can't agree more with the importance of branding. More importantly, I believe is how to attach that to true patriotism. You see, this is his favorite topic. So the true patriotism, but I agree there is a connection there. And quite frankly,
Yeah,
if you're building a personal brand for impact, you can't leave out the role of patriotism in there. This is where you operate. It will show, it will come through, right? These
I
example,
agree. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. This same lady, I was saying that I read her work, right? She did a video once, like she and a cinematographer, they did this video of Joss, like the hills, and oh my God, it was amazing. I was like, the Ministry of Tourism needs to pick up this video and use it. I've been to Joss before, but I have never seen Joss look so good before. It was amazing. It was amazing, And this was from the story she was sharing as a result of her agribusiness, just so we're clear. She was like, you guys need to see like the hiking and the amazing stuff in Joss. And then she did a video. It was really beautiful. So you see that, it also links to tourism, it also links to patriotism, so many of these things. So Kemi was asking, how can an agribusiness brand differentiate itself from competitors in the agribusiness? I think Tifa actually mentioned something on this.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did actually. So, first of all, I said you need to carve a niche for yourself, first of all, and then secondly, your output or your product has to be one of utmost quality
Mm.
and value. Yes. So, like Dara said, your experience with the person you were buying from in just, you know, your the product has to be, quality. Quality is the first thing for me. No, second thing actually, you carve a niche for yourself, and then quality of your product.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you, everybody. I see people are still joining Tifa fan base. So hi, Tosin Nura Abba. Everybody that has joined, thank you very much. We'll have to wrap up
Just saying hi.
now.
And
So thank you everybody for joining. I hope you found the session insightful as I did. At least now I know where some of my money is going. Um,
yeah,
you know,
I'm waiting for you.
so I'm excited. I'm excited. Thank you, Sifa, for sharing so much with us. And I hope that more people, are encouraged and inspired by this to get into this industry. And I hope that the people who are in this industry are also encouraged and inspired to build personal brands that will make a difference where they play.
Yeah,
So once,
I hope so
yeah.
too.
So once again, I put it in the chat box. Registration for the course. You have your Tifa discount code there. and then it's bit.ly/BYT join. So it starts in the last weekend on the last Sunday in February and it runs for 4 weeks. It's an amazing course, and we've had people, lawyers, financial experts, consultants, you know, communication professionals, all sorts of people join. So it would be great to see some of you there and to see Tifa there as well. So thank you,
Yeah.
everybody. Tifa, is there anything you want to leave us with?
Uh, don't be afraid to start.
You see, mic
That's what I
drop.
was saying. Just don't be afraid. Take that leap and come and show us your awesomeness.
Yes, we want to see
That's
it.
what I'm saying.
So
Yeah.
thank you everybody for joining. Thank you every single person. Kemi, Dayo, Temi Tokwe, Abdurrahman, Nora, Oneno, and everybody else. This was a full house today. Really happy to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you have any other questions regarding the course, feel free to message me or reach out to me. And if you have any other questions regarding this industry, please feel free to reach out to Tifa. She's an amazing person. I'm sure she will respond to
I'll
you.
be happy to answer, of course.
Thank you, everybody, and have a good
Thank you,
evening.
Dara.
Thank you,
Thanks for having me.
Tifa. Thank you for dropping all those gems. Have a good evening.